Fear.
I have a question about your 5 steps. So ask, access, analyze, act, and allow. So you added number 4 and number 5 because you found people weren't taking those divine, those divine steps. What do you think stops people besides just hearing the act and, allow?
Fear.
Fear.
Interesting. As soon as I said the word fear, my candle blew out. And there's smoke in the room. Exactly, that's what it does. It clouds your vision. It clouds your trust. Fear, because that's part of human nature. One of my big mottos is from that wonderful book, feel the fear and do it anyways. Because as I said at the very beginning, I'm not someone who likes change, but that is what intuition is. It's an invitation to grow.
Hi everyone, I am Julie Edmonds, your host of Channeled, tapping into the wisdom of your soul.
Hello and welcome to Channeled. I am honored today to have our guest, Dominique Hurley. She is an intuitive visionary artist. She's a light worker living in Ottawa, Canada after 14 years on the island of Newfoundland. And we are going to tap into her channeled wisdom. Hi, Dominique.
It's lovely to be here. Thank you, Julie.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. I am happy to have you and your artwork and your visionary and your light work. So let's talk. I know when we first met, you were telling me how you moved from Newfoundland to Ottawa. So let's start there.
Yes. Well, it's actually 6 months today. And it's quite the story. Right now, when you ask me, how do I introduce you? And I said, intuitive visionary artist. It's like, I haven't painted since March of this year. It's like, am I still an artist? Of course I'm an artist, but I moved here to take care of my father, who turned 93 actually on Friday. So that's a big milestone, especially since he didn't think he was going to see the 93rd. He was in great shape until about Christmas. But right before then, I had been intuitively guided to move here, which I never thought I'd live here again. So this is my hometown. I loved it in Newfoundland, on the island there. But because it was guidance, and this has been the same way through my whole life, if it's guided, I have no issues. You just put the plan into action, or the divine plan, and you just know the steps are going to fall into place. Although it's always a stretch from my comfort zones because I'm not one who likes change. And yet I've lived on 3 continents and 5 provinces. So, and 14 years in Newfoundland was the longest I'd ever been anywhere, really. So that was quite the shock. But coming here to help with my father, who before I actually did move, ended up in a hospital for a few months. So I moved up my move, came earlier, and basically helped him back to where he is now, and helping him. I basically emptied the house and it's for sale right now, and he's in a residence, and his strength is back up. We've been walking every day in nature and the healing beauty of this region. Which is very different from the wilderness beauty of Newfoundland. But we have, taken full advantage of his location. And little by little, his health has come back, and he's with a walker. But this weekend we walked 4.7 kilometers, and it's like a lot of people don't do that in their everyday, so at any age. And so it comes in many ways for me. The way I got to Newfoundland was I was just checking my emails on the computer, going to my Yahoo homepage. There's just this nondescript nature photo, and it was a clairaudient message of that's where you're living next. And my whole being sank again. I clicked on the image, please, not some war-torn country. I can't do that. And it was Newfoundland. I'd never been, but it was a province in my own country. And I was like, okay. So it just, in the next 3 days, in the next day, I got 3 confirming signs, and then took 6 months to sell everything. And that's what happened here this time too, is I needed to go light. I was going into my father's house where there was 35 years of lifetime to declutter, and it was quite cluttered. And so I had to sell everything, including all of my art. I had been a full-time artist there for over a decade. And I had 56 paintings, I think, that were still, for sale. And so I just put it out there to the world, make me an offer. It went out to my news list and as well as garage sales on Facebook and like all my personal belongings, most of them. And it's funny because I'm sometimes looking for something. It's like, oh yeah, that must still be in Newfoundland. I must have given that away or sold it or whatever. But it just flowed so wonderfully. And that's what happens when it's intuitively guided, it flows. And so if I had come out here out of an obligation and then like begrudgingly and all this, the whole experience here would have been completely different. But the way it happened, it being inspired even before Dad ended up ill and in the hospital, it just felt like a blessing, an honor. And there's this level of faith and trust that it's going to work out because it always has. I've been living this way since, well, maybe forever, unconsciously, but consciously since 92, when I ended up going teaching English in the Czech Republic and leaving, a very good, my dream job here in government in Ottawa, actually. And so it's always listening. And on my website, there's a free, I think it's a 90-minute or 75-minute tutorial on my 5 steps to a happy, healthy life, which I call the Intuition into Action Treasure Map. So I started being invited to podcasts in that, I don't know, 2013, I think was my first, where basically I had 3 steps on how to connect to your intuition. But then I noticed that people weren't putting it into action. So if you keep getting, advice, imagine you keep getting advice from a completely trusted counselor, and you keep saying, no, no, well, they're just going to stop giving you advice, right? So it's the same thing. The more you say yes to little baby steps, then you can take those leaps of faith because you see how it all worked out. And it has.
I have some questions for you. So
Absolutely. I can just keep babbling forever
no,
because
it's
there's
okay.
lots of
No, no, no.
stories. And
Got a lot.
please go for it.
Got a lot. So I made some notes here so make sure for our listeners too. So you said you had several signs and you had these like clairaudient audience, or how do you say it? Clairaudient.
That's basically when you hear an inner voice that you know is guided. Clairaudient message.
Okay, sorry. The clairaudience. So how did you know? Was it like just an outside, like, hey, ba ba ba, like a sentence? And then you said there were signs. Can you just kind of break that down for our listeners? Like, because
Yeah, sure. So that's when I went to Newfoundland. So clairaudient is it's like if you were hearing something from the outside, but it's inside. But it's not the voice of your, like, your inner critic or anything like that. It's just, it comes out of the blue. And so that's where you're going to live. And I clicked on it and it was, oh, Newfoundland. Okay. And the signs were, I happened to tell the person this was in, 2011. And so at the office, people still had like communal computers. We didn't have all our own little laptops. Anyways, so the person beside me who knew this side of me, I said, oh, I've just been guided to go to Newfoundland. And she goes, oh, I know the English as a second language director there at the university. So there was a position in Holyrood, not Hollywood, but Holyrood, which is the name I'd never heard before, except that very morning in a chapter in the Diana Gabaldon books of Outlander, I think that's what they're called, Outlander, that I had been reading. And so that little word just clicked in my brain. It's like, oh, twice in one day. And then a second sign was that I went home and somebody had recommended watching a movie on TV that night, which I never watched TV. It was always DVDs at the time. There was no Netflix. And but so it was like, whoa, I've got 3 channels. Sure. So I was on one. It's like, oh, yes, movies on television. You have commercials. So it's like, what do you do during commercials? Well, I had to stand up and change the channel because I didn't have a remote. And on the next channel, it was this Canadian comedian who was going through the country. And he basically said, let's go to George Street in Newfoundland. And it was just like, what? So that was in the city where I was planning to go or whatever. And so that was sign number 2. And then there was a third, which I've told this story many times, and now I've actually forgotten what the third sign was. But it's that kind of thing. Like, I'm always on the lookout for signs and symbols. Like, for example, right now, it's been a week, 10 days since I've been living in my own space. I moved out of my father's house that is up for sale. My dad is becoming stronger and more independent, so I'm not actually seeing him every single day. Almost, I'm trying to give him more space.
Oh, but that's great.
It is. It's absolutely great. And I was starting to think, well, what do I do? Do I become an artist again? I'm going to have to create something, but do I earn my living here? Do I look for a job? Do I earn it? Do I get my intuitive services back? I've been on sabbatical on my website for my intuitive readings and guided meditations, that kind of thing. And I've just been settling into the apartment. And so I actually, this is an example of like the universal laws. This painting here is a summary of the 12 universal laws, and I've got 12 mandalas that are go over each one. My team, a divine helper, and I,
And for
we
those of you that are listening and not seeing this or watching that, she's showing us a beautiful picture of a mandala.
Okay. Um, so yes, so I basically last week decided to invest in having that one painting shipped here from my own room, from my own new apartment. I've sold all my artwork except that collection of the 12 universal laws. And this was a summary of all 12 that I painted sort of like a good student at the end. And interestingly enough, it's arriving tomorrow, but overnight tonight, like right before this show, I got an email from someone who had ordered the guided meditations on my website for the 12 universal laws. Now, that is the first sale on my website in 6 months because I had everything on hold. And I was like, okay, the guided meditations there for the universal laws. My painting is coming. Where attention goes, energy flows. Like that is, I believe in that. And there was another third sign around the universal laws. And so and now you connecting with me, asking me to be on this podcast is like, I had not, being my father's caretaker, I had not thought of that side or connected to that side of me very strongly in that sense. And so it's all coming up this week, which is fascinating. It's like the universe telling me, okay, Dominique, it's time to get back into this. I've been doing my daily yoga. I've got my altar set up. I've been
But I
doing my
think,
sacred
Dominique,
routine.
too, that's like, what you're saying is so beautiful because you're tapping into it's like a divine timing.
Mm,
You came here you had this intent and mission and divine timing to heal your father. And now you said he doesn't need you every day. And all of a sudden, the universe is giving you all these beautiful signs to start tapping back into these things that you were doing
yeah.
before. And I just love this story that you're saying because especially when we have to make big decisions, especially when we're kind of like in between, what do I do? The universe intentionally puts things all around us, whether it's a song lyric, whether it's a commercial, whether
Yes.
it's a neighbor,
Yes.
whether it's a cashier at the grocery store.
Yeah.
If we're paying attention, they are telling us a story. And you're outlining that beautifully in this.
And through all of our senses, I mean, some of us are more visual, some of us are more a clairaudient, like, tapped into the inner hearing. Some of them is just a knowing. Like, it doesn't matter which channel the information is coming through. What matters is that you get the message.
Yes.
And so if it doesn't work one way, they're going to send another one. But I start noticing signs when it's more than once, like the mandalas of like the universal laws have popped up like 3 times again. And three is a big number for me. Uh, and it was the same way. How did I find my father's residence? He had to leave the hospital. He'd been there for many times. They'd given us like a few days to find him a space. We knew we weren't going back to the house. It was like, I didn't know the city anymore. I didn't know, like, I was on total overwhelm.
Mhm.
But something like a few times I saw the word Eden, including on the name of the lunch that they'd written on my lunchbox at the hospital. And yet that's not what I had ordered, or that's what I had ordered, but that's not the actual, veggie bowl that they'd given me. So that kind of caught my attention. It's like, oh, this doesn't match. It's like, okay, but it had Eden, and the word Eden came up 3 times. So I did a search on Eden residences and it didn't exist, but the home that he's in that we chose, follows the Eden philosophy, which is kind of like the Montessori of seniors residences. And it's funny because you talk to the people there and they don't really know that name much. Not all the staff, right? But it's on the website. So it's like, okay. So that led me to there, and it turned out to be the ideal location out of the, 100 to choose from,
But
for him to
let's change
heal.
gears for a second, Dominique.
Sure.
Back to 1992. You mentioned
Mm,
you started teaching in the Czech Republic, and this is where you consciously became aware of your gifts. So, was there something that
yes.
specifically happened that awakened you to this moment, or was it gradual?
Well, yes, no, like many people, when you hit rock bottom in one way or another, it awakens you a desperate need to find another way. So, uh, in 92, like in this dream job, after 3, 4 years, it was no longer my dream job. It turned out that, it was perfect for that chapter, but I hadn't thought of another plans because since the age of 15, this is where I was going. And as visual arts representative for the capital of Canada with the cultural programming and stuff like that. And so I was basically, either crying Sunday nights or Monday mornings. And I didn't want to go to work. It was like, okay, that's a sure sign. I was painting so much on the weekends because I needed to recenter. I needed to connect, and I do the intuitive painting. I never know what a painting is going to be, but it's just my way of connecting. One of my ways of connecting. And but at the time, the idea of being a full-time artist or even a professional artist of any sort was it just wasn't on my radar. It wasn't something. And so I just decided, I gave myself 2 weeks. I gave myself a deadline. I said, well, I gave my team of divine helpers a deadline. I said, in 2 weeks, I will know, guide me. And I'm like, I was on hypervigilance for 2 weeks, listening to everything, looking for the signs. Funny enough, the message came through on day one, but I didn't hear it because I wasn't ready to hear it when somebody was passing through the hall, someone who worked there, and telling someone else, I'm going to teach English in Thailand. And it was just like, I'd never left my family, never left hometown. It was like, except, with my family. And it was like, I don't think I could do something like that. But by the end of the 2 weeks, after dream analysis, doing my tarot readings, seeing a psychic, like everything.
You did your due diligence.
Yep. Then I heard on the radio that there was a Twin City program between our city, or Nepean next door, and a city in the Czech Republic. And they would give you a little mini weekend of training and something like that. And, I'd lived in Europe and in Germany as a child. My dad was in the military. So, that was more familiar, and it was through a program, so I wouldn't be just on my own somewhere. And so I went. And anyways, by the time I ended up in the Czech Republic, I went a month early with someone in that weekend program who said, hey, I'm going to a wedding. You want to come? It's like, okay. And so I ended up there early, which was a very good thing because the program fell through when I was on the plane, and we didn't know for another month until the program was supposed to start. We went to the city, and anyways, it had fallen through. But the people we were at the wedding for was like, oh, I'll find you a job. I'll find you a place to stay in the city. No worries. And, they were hungry right after at that time for English teachers. And it was one of the best years of my life.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, great.
you take one inspired step at a time, and then the next resource or a question or answer comes. And from there, I went to study that and just kept doing it.
Yeah, and the message here, I think, is about trust. Like you're just trusting
Yes.
steps, your inspired action. So,
well, with such a big success, and then you trust that, because that was a pretty big step. I'm sure there'd been smaller steps along the way. I mean, I've always been intuitive and very strong in my faith and things like that. So, but you have to start with the baby steps, and then you can do the leaps of faith and completely trust. Like I don't know how my life here will evolve, but I know it's unfolding perfectly. And will I end up in Newfoundland again? I don't know. I'm not thinking of that. I'm right here, right now.
No, oh, I love that. I'm right here right now. I'm right here right now. I am here right now. The little baby steps, I think, when the stakes aren't so high, then you can trust, and let your mind look for evidence. Let's go back to, you talked about it was hyper vigilant. Can there be a time, because I know I do this sometimes too, when you want to know so badly, or you're asking so badly, or maybe you're in this pain so much that you're just, I need an answer, I need an answer. We're asking all over the place. And put to some like nice sources, but what is it like? Oh, that book's read. That must be something, or this is saying something to me. When in reality, we're just like overthinking and overprocessing.
Yes. Well, there is also the point that if like anxiety or stress, it's like static on the telephone line between you and your higher self or your team of divine helpers, whatever you call them, God, whatever it is for you. Language sometimes gets in the way, but you know what I'm talking about. And so I think the first thing is really being centered and grounding and finding your own inner peace. first of all, I truly believe that we cannot be of service to anyone until we ourselves are in our own peace, you know? And so was I in my peace during that? I mean, I can't quite remember. That was a long time ago, but I know that often my intuitive messages, like the ones that come in a flash, come to me when I'm in the middle of yoga, you know, with my legs up the wall and some relaxation pose, or about to fall asleep, or in the shower, like just when you're not expecting it. And so if you're constantly like too much, then it's like that energy grasp and nothing can come through. What it's your monkey mind that even maybe fabricating things. So discernment is important.
So finding like a few moments, even if you're like, find that moment, whether it's in the shower or yoga, it's like just take a moment to breathe.
Or journal, or, you know, do automatic writing for 3 pages and see what happens. You know, sometimes something will, sometimes something doesn't.
No, it's so important. Do you have a daily practice that you do, you know, that is practical that we could talk to the listeners about?
Sure. Yes, and I'm so happy to be getting back into it, like much more than when I had to leave early in the morning to go to the hospital or something like that, you know, or got caught up in some house decluttering project. But yes, I start my mornings very early. I go to bed early. I start early, not with an alarm though. So I let myself wake up when I'm ready. And I do almost a 2-hour sacred routine in the morning that is yoga, meditation. I pull a spirit calling card, reading. Those are it's a deck of cards that I created with my photography and my paintings. They're all sold out. It was a limited edition, but you make a sentence with it and it's great. It's like today's message. Let me just see if I can see it from here. Shift into oneness by flowing through the passion of your expression. And like, so when I saw that this morning, it was like, okay, 1, this is not about me, this show, but 2, like connect with everyone that's meant to hear this. And just by just passionately sharing your story, and something I say is going to help someone somewhere, you know, just trust in that. And so I've been looking at that message every time I walk by during the day, and it guides me in taking inspired action. And definitely time in nature, which I'm getting a lot with my dad, because we're walking in the park every single day and it's amazing. So time in nature, quiet time, reading, reading my yoga books, but also reading philosophy books. And then I balance that with Netflix and chips. So yeah. I'm like a health food nut and a chipaholic. Well, I'm trying to give that one up. But like, so my sacred routine is really very much taking care of the body, which helps the mind.
That's great, because I was going to ask, what advice do you have for people like, well, I don't have 2 hours in the morning, you know, I've kids.
You don't need 2 hours. You can do a 10-minute yoga stretch, just something to like find a little routine that's easy to do. Like I spent, you can see my drum there. It's got the blue temple roof of Ananda, which is an ashram in California and Italy, based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda, which is another story, how I was guided to do 2 months of volunteering in California last year. And I thought, how can I do that kind of a schedule, that kind of physical labor? And like, I was terrified, but it was guided. So I went, and that 2 months of doing karma yoga, volunteering at an ashram, which was kind of a retreat center, so it always had guests and all that, that got me ready for my 6 months here, and helping dad with the house and helping dad in caregiving. Is like that kind of physical stamina, or just that kind of level of service. I was very much in my own world and connecting this way, but not connecting this way with other human beings as much in my previous art practice. So, like everything leads to another.
Right. No, we shouldn't question that, right? Like you were doing this service, you didn't know why, but now in hindsight, you see it. So just trust these guided actions.
Yeah. Yeah. And now I can't even remember your original question, but there was a link to that. Now
You answered it. Okay, so let's talk really quickly. You mentioned several times I need to declutter my space. I'm big into feng shui and, moving things around. And I think that was like probably a very big spiritual cleansing. decluttering maybe some of those paintings or old paintings, or what was that like for you?
Oh, it was liberating. And it was very, like people in the art world, or some people were like, oh, I can't just give you this much for this, $2,000 painting for $100, but that's all I can afford. I was like, hey, that's one painting off my shoulders in terms of like, I don't want to store any inventory. I'd rather my art be out there doing the energy work that it needs to be doing, because I do energy work through the art. And some people paid me full price. And so I really had to educate people and to encourage them to it wasn't a bid, it was make me an offer. And I used my pendulum, and sometimes the pendulum chose, like at the end of the time where people were sending me offers, it chose the lowest of 4 offers. I wasn't looking at the number, I was looking at who was meant to have it, with guidance with the pendulum. And so I know that the paintings are all where they're meant to be. And when I sold all 56, and together that has financed the last 6 months, and made me more than I did the year before from my art. So like, you got to think outside the box and follow the inspiration. So my inspiration was liberate everything. And yes, I'm a big declutterer. And so I was the perfect person to help my dad empty his house before it was for sale. And I'm like adamant to want to keep this place here, with the energy flowing. It's got all my favorite things. It doesn't have an excess of things. And it has space for me to move. Like, I've got my dedicated meditation altar corner yoga space, and my one chair to read in, and my dining table is going to be my painting table, my office, my dining table, everything. So I think it's about allowing the energy to flow and what feels good. Our environment is even more important than willpower sometimes. And I know Yogananda says that. And so having a space that nourishes you, having artwork or plants or something that uplifts you when you see it. Because if you've got something on your wall that, oh, somebody gave me that and they come here every 2 months, so I have to have it, even though it really, it depresses me every time I see it. That's think of you. It was a gift to you, so you can do with it what you want, even if it was a wedding gift, or something that reminds you of your marriage, but your marriage has ended. Then let it go, liberate that energy. So yeah, everything is alive, and what you fill your space with is what you fill your being with.
I love that. Oh, I got chills when you said that. So letting go of that flowing, that artwork where someone might hold on to, well, no, I need to sell it for this price, but you got compensated, not so much in financially for that $2,000 dollars worth of art that you sold for $100. You got compensated in spiritual space, spiritual flow, and that healing is going out into the world, which obviously
yes. And I mean, the purpose of that painting was first my creating it, and so once that's done, I have no attachment to it anymore, right? And so the price I put on things is just the price that has developed over the years. It's like right now, my collection of universal law mandalas, it's been on sale for $111,000, and yet I'm willing to take 12,000 right now. I need to find it a home. It's still in St. John's, and 3 big crates that I don't want to bring here, but it's a teaching collection that I want to keep together. So that's the only artwork that I have left. And even then, it's like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do with them? They're in my old housemate's basement, and it is kind of weighing on me. And yet I know there's divine timing, and there's a reason why, and that collection is going to find the perfect home. It was a traveling exhibition that helped people connect to the channeled readings that I did when my team was teaching me the universal laws. Like, those who know the movie The Secret, they know the law of attraction. But there's 11 others that I didn't know. And so I was guided one year to buy 12 square 30 by 30 canvases. And for 4 months, until the canvases got there, I knew I was told I was doing mandalas, but I didn't know on what. And then all of a sudden I got another message through another channel saying, you're doing the universal laws. And it's like, oh, there's 12 of those and I have 12 canvases. I guess that's a confirmation.
Yeah.
So that collection, and now there's a free guide on my website for people to learn about the laws and to practice them and to see, and they can buy prints from my website. So it's something that I needed to do for myself, and that's why I'm bringing the summary piece here, is I need to continue practicing what I've been taught and what I teach others, bringing that into our lives. So
We'll put all
That's why I'm bringing
things
the
too. So, if anybody is inspired to tap into and see your things online, let's talk about your intuitive paintings. I think,
certainly.
my show is called Channel Tapping to the Wisdom of Your Soul. And for me, my art is writing. And yes, I definitely journal and I intuitively journal and I automatically write, but I also have channeled novels now and characters in the novels and settings. And I'm sure it's similar to your artwork where you're piecing in these healing modalities. I'd love to hear more about your
Mm.
driven art.
Well, since the late 80s, I've like intuitive painting is now a very popular term, but that's the kind of painting I've been doing since the 80s when I first started. It's just following one layer after another, not knowing what the painting is going to become most of the time. So those are what I call intuitive painting, because acrylic paintings can be several layers. And it's one layer that informs the other, or I do a meditation and all of a sudden I get visions and that informs the next layer. So I never know what it's going to be unless I'm given a full download of a vision. Like I actually yesterday went out and bought my first two canvases here in Ottawa, and it's like I haven't painted since March, so it was like very exciting. And the only thing I know is there's one of the paintings is going to have the frame of a stained glass window of, my father's new church where we've been going every week, and I've been staring at this window, and just the shape of it, the geometry of it has been very inspiring, and just so grateful to have found a space that got him out, on Sundays and back into his own spirituality, because he kind of disconnected to that for a while, it seemed. And so the framework of the window will be in this painting, but what's inside, I have no idea, but I know it's going to be, something that has to do with my life. And then this is going to be something for my space. And so, but I've been given the framework. I don't know what's going to be in it. So sometimes that's it. Sometimes I just start making patterns and just see where it leads. And the
Sort of like,
visionary one is more like through the visions I receive.
yeah, no, it's almost like it's almost done. You just have to channel it and do it, like dig.
Sometimes, but that's when I call it the visionary art. Whereas the intuitive one, it's not almost done. It's like I have no idea where it's going. So I just paint until something happens and look at it. And sometimes I'll see something emerge from it and that kind of thing. So there's two ways of doing it.
That's an interesting way to look at it because I always look at it from the visionary. And that's probably my always desire to know, to know already. And so just let go and sort of trust, which, I've gotten really much better at as we've gotten older. So great. So let me ask you, we started this conversation, we're talking about 5 steps into an intuitive life that you have.
The intuition into action treasure map, 5 steps to a happy, healthy life. Yes.
Can we talk about that?
Absolutely. So I first wrote down the first three when I was invited to a podcast back in 2013 or something like that. I was living in Europe studying actually visionary art in Vienna for a year. And that again was guided and how I ended up there and all that. And so I'd written the first 3 steps, which were ask. Oh my goodness, I haven't taught this in a long time. Let's see if I can bring them back up. Ask, access, which I just wanted everything to start with A, but access is like receive the information, the data, or like the straight download, whatever, however it comes. Then I put analyze, because you have to understand and make a conscious decision. Yes, I'm going to follow this. And then act. So I take that inspired action. And then allow is number 5. It's like the 2 last ones I came up with when I realized that a lot of people were doing the first 3 steps, but they never took the inspired action. They never said yes, they never took that step.
You just said it's like sometimes it's not for you, it's for you to deliver for someone else, and it's a guided angelic message that needs to hear it. I have a question about your 5 steps. So ask, access, analyze, act, and allow. So you added number 4 and number 5 because you found people weren't taking those divine those divine steps. What do you think stops people besides just hearing the act and allow?
Fear.
Fear.
Interesting. As soon as I said the word fear, my candle blew out. and there's smoke in the room. Exactly, that's what it does. It clouds your vision. It clouds your trust. Fear, because that's part of human nature. One of my big mottos is from that wonderful book, feel the fear and do it anyways. Because as I said at the very beginning, I'm not someone who likes change. I actually can have quite a bit of anxiety or fear around certain things, like big steps, like going to do karma yoga when I didn't know if I could even stay up till like shifts that end at 9 when I'm usually in bed at 7 or 8, that kind of thing. So, but it's developing that trust. Again, going back to start with baby steps and then move on to leaps of faith, because once you start developing that trust, like for me, if it's guided, nothing will stop me, which is interesting, because if it was something that came out of my left brain, and it was just like, I think it'd be a good idea to go teach, in another country, I was like, oh, that's a lot of work. And the times that I've moved and the garage sales and selling all my belongings and selling all my artwork and all, like, that's a lot of work. And so sometimes it's just so daunting, and taking the easy way out is the status quo. But that is what intuition is. It's an invitation to grow.
Yeah.
And the status quo is your ego saying you're comfortable, stay small, do not grow. So it wants to protect you. It's not a bad guy. It's just, it wants to protect you. But intuition is always an invitation to stretch those comfort zones.
I hear a message that's been tapping on me, because you're talking about decluttering, and I'm looking at my bookshelf over, and I keep thinking to myself, I need to declutter this. And then I'm telling you, we need to declutter, and you're saying it. It's like it's speaking so loud, Jill. Take some time, because it does feel daunting. But once it starts happening, you just get into flow.
Yeah.
It's just starting. It's the
Yeah.
first step, just starting. And then the momentum comes after, the motivation comes after.
And the beauty with decluttering is that the universe abhors a vacuum, right? So if you create the space from your bookshelves, all of a sudden you will be gifted a book, or something will come into your life that you've made room for, that wouldn't have come otherwise, because you have freed the energy in the space for you to do things, or to have things. And so it's not like fill up your space again. It's just creating space in you. And that's the same for your schedule. Like the fact that I am trying to keep my life as simple as possible, and not like running all around town to do this and that and this and that, has made room for more time with spirit type of thing. We fill our schedules to the brim, because we're used to, like, I'm so busy. Yes, but is it busy? Like, are you making the busy, or is it just a choice because of the wrong reasons?
No, it's just, Dominique, I love this, because you said declutter. I'm looking at this, and I also pulled the card this morning too, because I do that in a tidy house. So do I need to hear it one more time? No, I don't. It's lovely having you. I could speak to you all day. But you've dropped some gems of golden, beautiful, divine nuggets here that I think our listeners will love. Dominique, where can we find you? Where can the listeners find you?
Yes, you can find my website at Dominique Hurley. So that's DOMINIQUEHURLEY, DominiqueHurley.com. Anything that you are inspired, follow that inspiration, trust that you're there for a reason, and try to find out why. Be curious. It won't be the same for you as somebody else.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, thank you so much. It's been lovely having you. We'll definitely put your website and everything in the show notes. And for those of you that are listening, if you love this, please like it, please share it, and then subscribe to channel Tapping to the Wisdom of Your Soul. Dominique, it's been a pleasure. I am now going to go clean my bookshelf.
Oh, good luck, Julie. You'll enjoy it. Bye-bye.